Hello everyone, it's Sylvia from Familiarise Tarot. Welcome to my channel. I'm so excited today because we're going to play a fun game. So basically a couple of days ago I posted an announcement in my community tab telling everyone that today I would have posted this video, and it's a game. It's basically a tarot and oracle based game. I'm going to say, let's say, a few sentences, a few statements about cards in a few decks. And there's going to be, for each and every deck, there's going to be 3 sentences, and 2 of them are going to be true, but 1 of them is going to be false. So the first person who is going to list all of the false responses, sentences, is going to win this journal. And let me tell you, this journal I have, so this is not my copy, it's an additional copy that I've got. It is really gorgeous. I absolutely love it. I know that I should have waited for someone to start using it, but it's also true that technically, since I live in the southern hemisphere, Samhain is not that far away for me, and we are already starting to feel that kind of a darker vibes of the autumn months. Here and there, but in any case, this is a gorgeous journal. So it's published by Rockpool, which is the same publisher of all of the Seasons of the Witch oracles. So you're probably familiar with Samhain, Eula, for example, Letha, which is going to come out soon if it hasn't already, Mabon, Imbolc, and so on. And this is just the only journal actually that they released, with the theme of the Seasons of the Witch. And I think that they made a wonderful choice because the Samhain, the vibes of this journal, it's just so amazing. So this is what you will win if you get all of the answers right. So I'm not going to break the spine, obviously. I'm just going to show you quickly. There's full pages that are from the cards, and some of them are not even from the cards. They're just new drawings. And look at this one, and you have a few different ways to journal if you want, because you do have the lined pages, but you also have the completely free pages if you want to do some sketches and something like that when you don't feel like writing down something. It does have some kind of prompt for journaling, which is always very helpful. And I have to say, it's been, so I started already writing in my, don't judge me please. It is an amazing journal. The quality of the paper is fantastic. I have to say, if you do use fountain pens, be careful not to use a very wet ink because it could be see-through. But I experimented with a couple of different inks and I didn't have any problems, so it shouldn't be a problem for you either. And it is a chunky monkey as well to be a journal, so you'll be using it for possibly even longer than the days around Samhain, and so that's why I actually started using mine even now. I just really like it. It's the way in which they produce this. It's this kind of, it's a hardcover, but it's actually flexible, as you can see, and it feels very nice to the touch. It's got a really good spine, so you can open, I'm not going to open it, but when you break the spine, you will be able to open it flat. And it does have a ribbon, a red ribbon, and all of these writers in the back, for example, and also the sun in the front with gold foiling, a red kind of gold foiling. So it's a really beautiful product. Now, a couple of rules, because I want to make sure that no one gets disappointed. So this is only available to subscribers, so you need to be a subscriber of my channel. You need to be at least 18 years old or older, of course, and you need to live in a country where I can legally ship from Australia, which is basically 99% of the world, but you never know. I just have to put it out there, and just have to make sure that it's clear. And so once, I don't know when, obviously, there will be a winner. So I'm going to keep this contest opened And I reckon if after a couple of weeks we don't have anyone who got all of the 10 answers right, then I will decide on a date, and after that date I will just give it to the person, to the second, let's say, to the person who probably got 9 answers right or 8 answers right. So please always make sure that you comment in this video, not in any other videos, and not in the community post that I did, because this is where I will actually look and check, the answers. But let's start. And I just wanted to, let me see, I'm just gonna grab a deck, one deck. Let's say I've got this Tabula Mundi, which is the mini edition. Minima, I think it's called, and I really love it. This is not part of the competition, so I'm just gonna zoom in to show you better the images. I'm just gonna do an example of what you can expect in this competition, in this contest, so you will see how to win, how to phrase your answers. So this deck, there will be a deck. As I said, it will be 10 decks, obviously, so there will be a total of 30 statements, and for each and every deck there will be 3 statements that I will say about the deck, or one of the cards of the deck, and 2 of them will be correct and 1 of them will be false. So for example, I will say in one of these cards of one of the cards of this deck there will be a leaping tiger. So you will see here there is a leaping tiger, so that is a correct answer, so you don't have to point that out. But then let's just pick a card. Okay, there will be a pack of 3 dark dogs. That's also correct, so you don't have to point that out. And then at a certain point I would say this is a very busy deck. I should have taken a different deck as an example because it's a very busy deck, I feel. Okay, difficult. Okay, so in this case you see that there's a seashell and it's kind of orangey red. Okay, so I will say in one of the cards of this deck there is a yellow seashell. Okay, and that is the false statement. So that whether that will be statement A or B or C, and you know what, I'll just make sure to write them all in the description box below, so you will be able to see them. Don't worry, you don't have to note them down, you just will be able to read them in the description box below. And then in your answer, in order to win, you will have to say, okay, for deck number 1, this will be deck number 1, you can also say the Tabula Mundi, the sentence which is false is sentence C. So there is no, whether there's no shell or the shell is yellow, in any case you will point that out. You just have to say deck 1 sentence C, okay? So, or even just 1.C. And in that case, that will be the correct answer. If you say deck 1 sentence B or deck 1 point or dot B, that would be wrong, unfortunately, because A and B were correct and C was false. Now, I don't know if I did a good job in explaining this. It sounded much more clear in my head. Sorry about that. But in any case, I hope that it gets clearer, during the video. And as I said, again, this deck is not in the competition. It was just that it's one of the decks that I wanted to show you for, to just give you an example. So let me just quickly put this back in its box. I adore this deck. It's really, really cool. Let me just zoom out. And obviously what will happen is that you will notice that I will have removed those particular cards from the deck I'm talking about, because otherwise it's just too easy. You have to have, either you have to know that deck, or you have to look on YouTube for walkthroughs of the deck. But I can assure you 100% this is going to be a very easy kind of competition, because I am going to use decks that are super duper common, very popular, mass market decks, sold at really discounted prices most of the time, because I don't want you to have to buy the deck. That you will be able to, just when you watch a walkthrough, for example, you'll be able to spot the false statement, and so it will be very easy, I promise. Now we are going to start. I have my order, but Let's see, do I want to do it in order or not? Let's do it in order. It might be actually easy. Okay, so the first deck is the Symbolic Soul Tarot. Let me just zoom back in so you can really see the cards. Obviously, I have removed the cards that will point to whether a sentence is true or false, because otherwise it would be too easy. And so we'll have a look at the deck in the meantime. So let's call them sentence. Sentence A. There's an angel sitting on a toilet. So sentence A, there's an angel sitting on a toilet. Is that true or false? If it's true, you don't have to point that out, just a false one. Then sentence B, there's a hat made out of a designer shoe. So if you see a hat made out of a designer shoe, then that's not the right answer. That's a true, let's say it's true, so it's not the one that you have to point out. And sentence C, there's a horse that is pooping in one of the cards. So if you remember or you see a horse which is pooping in one of the cards, it's not the one that you have to point out. So if you think that it's not true, for example, that the false one is that there's a character that has a hat featured out of a designer shoe, you would say for deck 1, which is the Symbolic Soul Tarot, 1 point B. Okay, if you say 1 point B and that's the correct answer, I will let you know. Now, I was thinking, if you want, you can also post partial answers and I will tell you whether they're correct or not. But what happens is that if you do that, you will help others, because say, for example, you got them right from deck 1 to deck 5, you're missing deck 6 and 7, and then you got them right from deck 8 to 10. There could be someone else that read your answer and they use your answer and then they just fill in the gaps for deck 6 and 7. So it's up to you. It could be risky. It could be risky. Let's go ahead. So this was deck 1 and I'm just going to repeat the questions. There's an angel sitting on a toilet. There's a hat made out of a designer shoe. And there's a horse which is pooping. Okay. Okay, so the second deck is the very popular Deviant Moon Tarot. This is the borderless edition, but it doesn't matter because the images are the same, whether you have the borderless or the bordered edition by Patrick Valenza. It's a very common deck. We've talked about this deck so many times. Very good for shadow work. But also, you know, it's a very intense kind of deck, isn't it? I actually really love this deck. And there's also a coffee table book that goes with it, which is kind of cool. So, sentence number 1, there's a crow that is delivering a letter. Sentence B, there is a genie coming out of a lamp. And C, there's a hangman wearing a watch on their wrist. Okay, so if you think that there is indeed a genie coming out of a lamp and there's indeed a hangman wearing a watch, then your answer will have to be 2, because this is the second deck. So deck number 2, Deviant Moon Tarot, A, because you don't believe that there's an actual crow delivering a letter. And so obviously, you know, as I said, it's up to you if you want to post just partial, but please understand that the person that wins, you can do as many entries as you want, but the person that wins is the first one that will be able to say in the same answer, so in one answer, whether it's the 5th of their answer, but it needs to be all in one answer, all of the 10 sentences that are false, okay? Because I want this to be clear as much as possible. So this is the Deviant Moon Tarot, and let me just repeat the sentences. So, a crow delivering a letter, a genie coming out of a lamp, and a hangman wearing a watch on their wrist. Okay, and the deck number 3 is the 5th Spirit Tarot. In this case, I have the mass market edition from Hay House, but again, even if you have the indie edition, the images are still the same, so it's gonna be okay. And let's show this deck, which I really like actually, because it's one of those decks that it is pipish, as you can see in the minors, but it's actually really good pips. And I really think that all of the images are very conducive of really spot on kind of reading. The Page of Swords, I was reading a book, for example, it's very straightforward, I would say. So let's start. So deck number 3, sentence A. Someone has a love-hate tattoo on their legs. And sentence B, there is a wasp's nest hanging from a branch of a tree. And sentence C, there is a human tooth in a glass. Look how beautiful. By the way, I really like the colors as well. And this deck is definitely a winner when it comes to inclusions and diversity. And the moon card is just absolutely gorgeous. I really love it. So let me just repeat the 3 sentences. This is deck number 3. This is the 5th Spirit Tarot. Sentence A. Someone has a love-hate tattoo on their legs. There is a wasp's nest hanging from a branch of a tree. And there is a human tooth in a glass. If you think that it's either one of the 3 is a false sentence, then point that out. So 5th Spirit Tarot, deck number 3. So deck number 4 is going to be the Light Seers Tarot. This is the Tarot in a Tin, always by Hay House, but don't worry, as I said, even if you have either the indie edition or the full-size edition, it's the same images. So let me just zoom in, because obviously this one is tiny. And it's a very popular deck. I think that honestly, if we do some kind of a survey, there will be 80% of people who have this deck, because it was very famous. It became very famous right at the time in which tarot started to become popular. You know what I mean? It's always been popular, let's say, but more popular than usual. And it has a very modern take on tarot. It's got fantastic color palette. I really love them. So I know that there's a lot of love-hate relationship with this deck, in the sense that many people don't like it, but even when they don't like it, they would know about the images. And there are so many walkthroughs of this deck on YouTube or anywhere that it's gonna be very easy to answer to this one. So deck number 4, sentence A, there is an ox skull hanging from a wall. Sentence B, there are balloons shaped like a light bulb in a card. So balloons with the shape of light bulbs. And sentence C, there's a person that is part lion, part human being. Okay, so obviously I removed the 3 cards. So let me repeat the sentence. This is deck 4. Sentence A, there's an ox skull hanging from a wall. There are balloons with the shape of light bulbs. And there's a person who's part lion, part human. And this is deck 4, the Light Seers Tarot. And so the next deck number 5, is the Enchanted Map Oracle deck by Colette Baron Reed. This is a really old edition, but even if you have a more recent edition, it's not a problem, because the images are indeed the same. And let's have a look at this deck. I also modified this deck. I actually trimmed the borders off. I think that the most recent edition come already borderless. I'm not entirely sure. And I also edged my copy. So am I too close by? Probably yes. So this is deck 5. And the sentence A is, there's an elephant standing on a rock. Sentence B is, there's a fairy with 4 sets of wings. And sentence C, there's an ostrich carrying a windmill on its back. This deck is so surreal, isn't it? It reminds me a lot of the Mystical Moments, both the tarot deck and the oracle deck, because there's the associations that you see on these cards are really, really odd, I should say, whimsical, but also they function really well when it comes to opening a portal, because they are so alien in the sense that our brain doesn't necessarily recognize them immediately. It actually does put you in a different kind of set of mind when you look at the cards, and I really like it, and I think that it's a classic. I think also for this deck, like 90% of people would at least know of this deck or have seen it. So this is the deck number 5, that's the Enchanted Map Oracle. I repeat the sentence. So sentences: A, there's an elephant standing on a rock. B, there's a fairy with 4 sets of wings. C, there's an ostrich carrying a windmill on its back. And the next deck is the Oracle Signs of the Times. Let me just zoom out a little bit more. So this deck is so underrated. It's not even funny. Honestly, it's an amazing deck. Really, really amazing. It works really well with all of your Oracle that have some kind of a graphic novel style. Like this one pairs perfectly with the Cosmic Cycle Tarot, for example. And I really, really appreciate the fact that I think it's Hay House as well. I don't even know who the printer is. Oh, Hay House, yes, it's a Hay House deck. And they've done a fantastic job. It's very simple, it's very straightforward, and it's so very affordable. It's incredible. It really, if you live in Australia, I think it's around $18, and which is basically the cost of a pizza. Margherita pizza at that, not even a complex pizza with a lot of ingredients, that's a really basic one. So, you know, next time, think about it, you can actually have this deck instead of eating a pizza. Although being Italian, I will always tell you to eat a pizza, don't worry. So this is the Signs of the Times Oracle, and it's deck number 6. And let's have a look at the cards. Oh, I have to zoom out even a bit more. And so, deck number 6, sentence A, there is a receipt from a restaurant for $11.11. Sentence B, there is a fridge magnet for the letter S, S for Sierra. Sorry, there's a fridge magnet with the letter S for Sierra. And sentence C, there is a set of hot pink fairy dice. So I just repeated, this is deck number 6, it is the Signs of the Times. Sentence A, there's a receipt from a restaurant for $11.11. There is a fridge magnet with the shape of a letter S for Sierra, and there is a set of hot pink fairy dice. And that was deck number 6. And the next deck, just to have a little bit of fun, is the Zombie Tarot. Again, a very, very popular, so much fun. Oh, this deck is so much fun, but it's also really a very good reader, I have to say, as well. It's not just, you know, one of those decks that makes you laugh. It may make you laugh by looking at the images, but there's some really good readings coming out of it. So the Zombie Tarot, as I said, it's deck number 7. And sentence A is, there's a firefighter biting a woman's arm. Sentence B, there's a news headline saying rescue stations. And sentence C, there's a zombie cheerleader roller skating. So this deck is so funny. I just love looking at the cards. I mean, you know, even if I don't read with it, it's just such a joy. And I know that it's the kind of, you know, it's a kind of laugh that it's also a bit like, yeah, let's hope that it never happens, because, you know, it's a really kind of a desperate situation here. But on the other hand, how fun it is to look at these cards, and it's got that kind of vintage 50s feel to it that I really love. And I like to pair it up with the kitchen table, oh no, sorry, not the kitchen table tarot, the Housewives Tarot. And I also throw in, for example, the Oracle of Oddities, which is the oracle with the anatomy, by the same author as the Antique Anatomy Tarot. So it's just absolutely fantastic to have these three together. It goes for a lot of really fun readings as well. But as I said, it's also a bit of a straight shooter. So deck number 7, the Zombie Tarot, I'm just going to repeat the sentences. So sentence number A, there's a firefighter biting a woman's arm. There's a news headline saying rescue stations. And there's a zombie cheerleader roller skating. And, you know, I thought deck number 8, I thought it had to be the Seasons of the Witch Samhain Oracle, because since I'm giving away the journal, which is based on this deck, I thought it would have been nice to include this deck in the context as well. So deck number 8 is the Season of the Witch Oracle Samhain, and which is this one here. This was the first edition that series, so the series of the Seasons of the Witch Oracles. I have to say they've got a long way from this edition, but I always really love this one because it's really dark and I absolutely love how beautiful it is. Even though, you know, since then they actually changed the illustrator, and the decks, they feel cohesive, like they feel like even though it's a different kind of art style, they don't feel excessively different from these editions. I believe that Samhain, Eula, and probably Beltane were done by the same illustrator, and then when we moved on to Mabon, Imbolc and Lita, they changed to a different illustrator, and they also changed from poems at the bottom to actual messages. So without much further ado, this is deck number 8, and sentence A is, there's a woman reading a deck of cards. Sentence B is, there's a frog eating a pumpkin, and sentence C is, there's a painting of mushrooms on a wall. Okay, so this is the Seasons of the Witch Oracle Samhain edition. This is deck number 8, and just to repeat the sentences, the ones you have to tell me whether it's true or false, but basically you have to point out only the false one. So sentence A, there's a woman reading from a deck of cards. Sentence B, there's a frog eating a pumpkin. Sentence C, there's a painting of mushrooms on a wall. So deck number 9, I hope that everyone knows this deck. I think there's a lot of talk about this deck. When it came out, there were a lot of people saying, I'm not gonna buy it, yes, I'll buy it. And it's basically because there's no age diversity. There's only, I believe, there's only one character in these cards who's, let's say, not young. I have to say, because I'm not young anymore, I was also on the fence, and I was thinking, but I do feel like this deck is calling to me. It's just by principle, I didn't want to buy it. And then, you know, it was in super sale for, what was it? I think it was Black Friday. It was really like, again, comparing it to what we usually spend on a day, it would have been a sandwich. The cost of a sandwich in Sydney, Australia, it was about $14. So the cost of a sandwich in Sydney, Australia could have had this deck. And I thought to myself, I'm on a diet anyway, so I might as well buy the deck instead. And when I received the deck, I found that it's so very compassionate. It's so powerful. It's so beautiful that I don't mind that I don't see myself in the characters. I don't mind that. I could be the mother of these characters, but I don't mind that because it is not in your face. I don't know how to explain that. It's not like saying I'm not representing people who are not young anymore because it's a, you know, like a position. It's just simply because it's just telling a tale, basically a story. And I actually really love it. And I'm happy that I got it. And it was $14. I mean, come on. As I said, sandwich, tarot deck, sandwich, tarot deck. Sometimes I'll have the sandwich, I have to admit, but you know. So this is deck number 9, and it's this one here. So I have not yet seen anyone who's trimmed the borders off. Has anyone trimmed the borders of this deck? Can you let me know what it looks like? What's the feel to it? Because I don't find them obtrusive like most of borders will be. I actually like that they're this creamy color because I paired this deck up with the Magical Spirit. What is Magical Spirit? What is it? Yeah, the Magical Spirit Oracle, which is unpairable in the sense that it's very difficult to find a deck that pairs up well with that deck. But it actually does with this one, and I really love the combination of colors. I like this deck so much. It makes me say, okay, I'm not in here. Of course I'm not in here. But you know, there's kitty cats. I mean, come on. And there is diversity when it comes to body shape and skin color. So I don't know. I feel like it would have been wonderful, you know, if there had been more age diversity. But it's okay, it's okay. I like it anyway. So this is deck number 9, Cozy Witch Tarot, and the sentences are: sentence A, there's a character with an acorn around her neck, so an acorn pendant around her neck. Sentence B, there are 4 cupcakes with birthday candles on top. And sentence C, there's a character with a beauty blogger written on their jumper. Okay, so again, this is deck number 9 and it's the Cozy Witch Tarot. And the sentences are: sentence A, there's a character with an acorn pendant around her neck. Sentence B is there's 4 cupcakes with birthday candles on top. And sentence C is there's a character with a beauty blogger written on their jumper. And for the last deck, so this is deck number 10, I had to go with the Horror Oracle or Classic Horror Oracle. I know that this is also a recent deck and perhaps not everyone has this deck. But I really wanted to go with something fun. And I know that it's a bit of a contradiction, right? Saying that's a horror movie. So these are classic horror movies. And I just like classic horror movies so much. And when I watch them now, because they're kind of old, they don't feel that scary anymore. Does it make sense? So I feel that there is so much coziness for me to just perhaps one night watch, you know, Freddy Krueger again, or even It. And I know that they're intense and they're horror movies, but it's probably the associations that I have for these movies, watching them perhaps with you know, someone I care about, and just reminding myself of that. But I checked, there's a couple of walkthroughs of this Horror Oracle on YouTube. So even if you don't have this deck, don't worry, because you will be able to see the cards. And so this is deck number 10. And the sentences are there's a devil sticking his tongue out. So there's a devil sticking his tongue out, and that's sentence A. Sentence B is there is a character with an eye on their hand. So not in their hand, they're not holding an eye, but they have an eye on their hand. You'll understand. If you know that movie, you'll understand. And sentence C, there's a gremlin wearing a yellow hat. So just to repeat, so this is deck number 10. It's a Classics Oracle, Horror Oracle. And sentence A is there's a devil sticking out his tongue. There's a character with an eye on their hand. And there's a gremlin wearing a yellow hat. And that was it for today. Now let me just repeat, please make sure that you are 18 or older, you are a subscriber to my channel, and you live in a country where I can legally ship from Australia. Also, the winner will be the first person that actually gets all of the answers, all of 10 answers right. However, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a couple of weeks. If there's no one, you know, getting all of 10 right, then I will just decide on one day will be the last day in which I will close the entries, and then I will pick the second best, let's say, the one that will get 9 questions right or 8 questions right, depending. Also, you can post partials, as in maybe you only found 7, but it's at your own risk, because obviously, you know, you're giving out the answer, but it's a partial one and you're not going to win. And so there might be someone who actually has the remaining 3 answers, and then they will use your answer and add to that and win because of that. So it's up to you, obviously. It's a decision that only you can make. And that was it for today. I hope you had fun. It was so much fun for me to prepare this video, and have a great day.